My name is Oliver Reed. I'm 33, a software engineer, and I have a talent for ignoring red flags. 6 months before I proposed to my girlfriend, Clara, my grandmother, Evelyn, died and left me 3 paid-off apartments in downtown Seattle, her house, and investments. Total value, a little over $4 million. I didn't know she was rich. She lived frugally and taught me 3 rules. Never lend money to next Friday people. Never buy things when you're tired or drunk. And never tell people how much money you have, especially if they call you babe. Her lawyer put the apartments into an irrevocable trust with me as the sole beneficiary. I set up a separate account for the rent, hired a property manager, and kept quiet. My plan was to tell Clara later after we were married a while. I wanted to know I was loved for me, not the money. Clara was fun, smart, and kind. Then I met her parents. Her dad, Henry, ran a car dealership. Her mom, Margaret, wore pearls, spoke in price tags, and treated every topic like a balance sheet. Dinner at their house felt like an interview with a bank. They asked my salary before hello. They asked if I owned property. They hinted that stability mattered. Clara apologized afterward. I told myself families are quirky. I kept the inheritance to myself and kept dating. We got engaged. Wedding planning became a tug of war. Margaret pushed a country club, 300 guests, a famous violinist, and even a drone light show. We compromised on a lakeside venue with normal food and string lights. On our wedding day, the place was beautiful. Henry toasted shared assets and long-term growth. People laughed. He wasn't joking. The honeymoon was calm. When we came home, Margaret started dropping by. She brought expensive candles we didn't need and opinions we didn't ask for. Renting was embarrassing. Our furniture was cozy. She asked about promotions, investments, and whether my parents left me anything. I deflected. Then my property manager called. A private investigator had visited his office asking for ownership records and income on my Belltown apartments. He refused to share. He sent me the investigator's card. That night, I found Clara in my office, a folder of financial documents on the desk, looking for stamps. We didn't own stamps. She looked guilty. I didn't confront her. I just noted it. A week later, I walked into our apartment and found Clara, her parents, and a notary at our dining table. The table was covered in forms, joint accounts, family loan agreements, and draft deeds. One clause read, Turner Holdings may access funds for investment purposes. Margaret said, and of course we'll need to discuss the 3 estates in Belltown. She said it like we were picking paint colors. I asked how she knew. Henry said they'd had me vetted, just good business. Clara stared at her lap. She knew. I texted my attorney, Laurel, emergency. Bring the will. Laurel arrived in 27 minutes, calm and direct. She laid my grandmother's will and trust documents on the table and read the key lines. The properties are in an irrevocable trust. I'm the sole beneficiary. They are separate property under Washington law, and they cannot be transferred without my explicit consent and independent counsel. Any attempt to coerce transfer could be actionable. The notary started packing her bag. Laurel looked at Margaret and added that hiring a PI under false pretenses to gather financial info can cross into unlawful privacy territory. Henry tried the community property angle. Laurel laughed. We'd been married 8 days. Community property covers things acquired during the marriage. Clara was entitled to half the groceries. It was over in under 15 minutes. The notary left. Margaret went pale. Henry got loud. Clara cried. I told her, quietly, that if her parents wanted a son-in-law they could control, they should have adopted one. Laurel told them, please contest this. I would love the billable hours. We divorced through Washington's simplified process. Short marriage, no kids, no shared assets. It took 6 weeks, longer than the marriage. I moved into one of the empty Belltown apartments. Every morning I opened the curtains to the skyline and said, nice try, Margaret. A friend later told me this wasn't the first time. Clara had dated a finance guy before me. The Turners ran a similar play, probing questions, PI, planning meeting. He saw it coming and left before proposing. They'd just gotten subtler with me. I don't hate Clara. I think she grew up in a house where money was the measure of love and control looked like care. But she went through my desk and sat quietly while her parents brought a notary to my home. That's a choice. I took my grandmother's rules and turned them into a small nonprofit, the Evelyn Foundation. We teach financial basics and how to spot financial manipulation by partners, parents, or family businesses. We talk about prenups without panic. We explain separate versus community property. We show what coercion looks like when it's wrapped in concern. We give people scripts for saying no, and we bring in lawyers to answer questions. On Sundays, I visit my grandmother's grave with lilies. I tell her about the workshops, the kid who almost wired his savings to a girlfriend's startup, the single mom who set boundaries with her parents after they kept borrowing her tax refunds. I tell her about the apartments and the view. I thank her for the trust, literally and figuratively. People sometimes ask why I didn't disclose the inheritance before the wedding. Here's my answer. Money doesn't change people. It reveals them. When I kept quiet, I got to see the truth. Clara's family hired a PI. They ambushed me with a notary. They tried to wrap coercion in planning. If I'd told them early, they would have smiled bigger and moved faster. I've learned a few simple guardrails. Keep separate property truly separate. Title matters. So do clean records. If anyone wants you to sign quick papers, slow down. Independent counsel is non-negotiable. Privacy is not secrecy. It's safety. You don't owe your balance sheet to people who haven't earned your trust. If a partner is just collecting information for mom, consider what happens when mom wants control. A good prenup protects both people from both families. Clara moved on. Her parents will keep playing their game with someone else. I'm living quietly, working, and running the foundation. Sometimes I think about that first dinner at the Turners, how every story had a price, how every question aimed at my net worth. I heard the tone and ignored the meaning. I don't ignore it now. If someone leads with, "What do you do?" and means, "What do you make?" I change the subject or end the conversation. If someone pushes for access because family, I lock the door, politely in writing, and with counsel if needed. Grandma used to say the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well and teaching others how to do the same. I didn't need to win in court or humiliate anyone. I just needed to keep what was mine, exit cleanly, and put my energy into something useful. So that's the story. I got married, stayed married 8 days, and learned that red flags are red for a reason. I kept quiet about 3 apartments, and thank God I did. A week after the wedding, my wife's mother showed up with a notary. My lawyer showed up with a trust. The rest was paperwork. Now, when I open the blinds and see the Space Needle, I don't think about loss. I think about rules on a yellow legal pad, a stubborn woman who reused plastic bags, and a sentence that saved me. Never tell people how much money you have. Turns out that's less about dollars and more about boundaries. And if you're reading this because you feel pressured to merge everything right now, here's my plain advice. Take a breath, get your own lawyer, put the pens down, and remember, love doesn't require a transfer of title. Thanks for watching PLS. Like and subscribe.